How's it going, everybody? This is Robert One Kenobi back again with another video. And pretty much everybody I know has already made a video about this topic. I'm just getting around to mine today. As you guys know, on Wednesday, Chyna passed away at the age of 45. It is believed that she may have died from an overdose. We're waiting to hear the coroner's report and whatnot. So, of course, I wanted to come on here and pay my respects to Chyna and talk about how influential her career was and how revolutionary, so to speak, her career was during her time with the WWF. Of course, I was introduced to Chyna in 1987 when she came in as Triple H's enforcer. And I remember seeing her, and I thought that I wasn't scared of Chyna, but I remember seeing her, like her look and everything. I thought she was freaking scary for a woman because if you remember, Chyna was jacked when she first arrived in the WWF. And I remember seeing her and just, locking Terry Reynolds in the bear hug and swinging her around like a rag doll. And Chyna's strength was freakish. And I remember seeing it and just thinking, man, she's like a freak of nature, the way she's just manhandling Terry Reynolds and everything. And Chyna, say what you will about Chyna's personal life, because yes, she did not have the best personal life. She had quite a tumultuous life that, involved substance abuse, domestic abuse. Her life wasn't, her life played out the way it did. It was very tumultuous. But I'm not remembering Chyna for that. I'm remembering Chyna for what she contributed to professional wrestling, because I always remember Chyna as one of the big names I enjoyed watching in the Attitude Era. I always remember watching Chyna. Chyna as a member of DX is probably my favorite. It's probably some of my favorite moments from her career. She was with Triple H as his enforcer, and then of course Shawn and Triple H formed DX. And even after Shawn left DX, Triple H brought in the Outlaws and X-Pac. And Chyna seeing Chyna as the key female member of DX was awesome, because Chyna, of course, was not your typical valet. She was not your typical manager. She got physical, whether it was at ringside or if she actually got in the ring. Chyna got physical, and Chyna paved the way for a lot of female wrestlers. She's been cited as an inspiration by many female wrestlers. Chyna, in a sense, broke barriers for women's wrestlers for what she did. Chyna became the first woman to ever compete in the Royal Rumble match. She entered at number 30. She became the first woman to ever win the Intercontinental Championship, first woman to ever compete in the King of the Ring tournament, and she actually made it to the semifinals, I believe, against Road Dogg in 1989. Like I said, say what you will about Chyna, because she did have a very tumultuous life. The substance abuse, the drug abuse, the domestic abuse. But in the end, Chyna was undoubtedly one of the big revolutionaries in women's wrestling, for everything she did, how she paved the way. And I choose to remember Chyna and respect Chyna for what she contributed to women's wrestling. Undoubtedly one of the biggest names in the Attitude Era, not named Stone Cold Steve Austin or The Undertaker or The Rock. I mean, Chyna was the biggest female draw, in the Attitude Era. She had her on-screen relationship with Eddie Guerrero, where she was his mamacita, and that was fun to see. Chyna got physical. Chyna got in your face. She wasn't afraid of anybody, but that was fun to see Chyna in this different kind of romantic side with Eddie Guerrero. Chyna feuded with the men like Jeff Jarrett and Chris Jericho over the Intercontinental Championship. I personally enjoyed her feud with Jericho because it started off with them as rivals over the Intercontinental Championship, and then they had a match on SmackDown where they both pinned each other and they were declared the co-Intercontinental Champions. And then Hardcore Holly got thrown into the mix, and it culminated in a match at Royal Rumble 2000 where there was going to be one undisputed champion, and Jericho ended up winning that triple threat match and leaving Royal Rumble as undisputed Intercontinental Champion. But Chyna, like I said, I'll always remember Chyna for her time with DX and the fact that she actually wrestled some of the men. She was actually the only female to become #1 contender for the WWF Championship. And even though it lasted a week because she lost it back to Triple H, Chyna had the right and has the right to say she was #1 contender for the WWF Championship, the only female to win the #1 contendership for the WWF Championship. Chyna, before Trish and Lita and Sasha and Bayley and Charlotte and Becky, Chyna was the one that knocked down the doors, kicked down the doors for her field her fellow, excuse me, wrestling sisters. And that's how I'm going to always remember Chyna. And it's unfortunate that Chyna never got closure with Triple H or Stephanie McMahon or the WWE in general or X-Pac. Because, of course, Triple H and Chyna were in a relationship from 1986 to 2000, and Chyna never said anything about it. She kept it a secret because she was afraid that people were going to think she slept her way to the top. And, you know, Chyna had issues with Stephanie McMahon and Stephanie's relationship with Triple H. And unfortunately, that led to her departure from the WWF. I remember Chyna had a match against Lita for the Women's Championship, which she won to retain the championship. And then after that, we never saw Chyna again. That was Chyna's very last match in the WWF, her last pay-per-view match. And it was just weird and awkward not seeing Chyna after that. And I remember, like, back then thinking to myself, like, what happened to Chyna? She's still with the WWF? Did she quit? Did she leave? What happened? And, you know, JR once said in 2007 that she wasn't fired because of the whole issue with her and Triple H and Stephanie. But then Chyna went on the Vince Russo podcast and said that she left WWF because of that situation, and she got a fax from them saying she was no longer needed. So that's unfortunate. You know, it's unfortunate that Chyna won't get that closure with Triple H and Stephanie and the WWE in general and with X-Pac, because, of course, she had a tumultuous relationship with X-Pac, which even got some publicity through her appearances on the Surreal Life when X-Pac stopped by the house, and, you know, all hell broke loose, you know. And with that said, you know, Chyna is deserving of a Hall of Fame induction. And, you know, it's unfortunate that Chyna hasn't been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame yet. And she probably will be inducted into the Hall of Fame next year. But it's unfortunate that it took her death to finally get her into the Hall of Fame. Because when you look at somebody like Sunny, who has done porn like Chyna, and has even said that she'll pawn her Hall of Fame ring for money, and you don't take her out, yet you don't put Chyna in the Hall of Fame. Yes, Chyna has had her issues. She did porn as well. But, you know, you look at Chyna, who paved the way for women's wrestlers. You look at Sunny, who's going to pawn the Hall of Fame ring you gave her when you inducted her in 2011, and you keep her in the Hall of Fame. You know, that's just not right, you know. So Chyna will most likely go into the WWE Hall of Fame next year, but it's unfortunate that it took her death for her to go into the Hall of Fame. You know, because like I said, you put Sunny in the Hall of Fame way before Chyna ever goes into the Hall of Fame, yet Sunny's on Skype. She'll show you her boobs for $100, and she's willing to pawn her Hall of Fame ring, the same ring you gave her as acknowledgement for being inducted into the Hall of Fame. I right there think that's shady, that Sunny's going to do something like that, and that she's still in the Hall of Fame. And yet you don't put Chyna, who was revolutionary for what she did in the Attitude Era, and like I said, paved the way for women's wrestlers. So it is unfortunate that she's going to go into the Hall of Fame mainly because of her death. She should have gone into the Hall of Fame years ago. But if she does go into the Hall of Fame, it is well-deserved. And I don't know what – I didn't watch SmackDown last night. I don't know if they showed her picture before the start of the show with a little rest in peace or in memory of or dedicated to Joni, Chyna, Lauer. It's going to be really interesting to see if they have a package video or any kind of tribute for Chyna this Monday on Raw. I know WWE.com posted the news about Chyna's passing, and they have photos from her career also posted online, so that's good that they went that route, that they're showing respect to Chyna. Triple H posted something on his Twitter account about how Chyna did things her way and how she kicked down the doors for women's wrestlers. Stephanie McMahon also posted something about Chyna's contributions to the WWF/E. So I'm happy they took the time to recognize Chyna. I'm just curious to see where the WWE goes from here with, you know, honoring her and whatnot. And like I said, guys, she's going to most likely get a Hall of Fame induction next year. But the unfortunate thing is that it took her death for her to finally get into the Hall of Fame when she should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago. And I heard the story about Chyna showing up at, I believe it was Dusty Rhodes' funeral, and the scene that she made and everything. And then I heard about the recent incident at WrestleCon where She demanded more money to get on the plane to WrestleCon because she missed her previous plane, and she was incoherent, and she was slurring her words, and she may have been intoxicated or whatnot. So it's unfortunate that Chyna was in that state prior to her passing. And I know that people said, I heard or I read in the news that people were trying to contact her via phone call or text message, whatever, and she wasn't answering her phone for days. So it's unfortunate that Chyna passed away under the circumstances that she did. It's believed that it may have been from a drug overdose, and Chyna has had her issues with drugs and substance abuse and whatnot. And it's surreal that she passed away, because my friend, Ms. WB Fan 13, recently met her at a convention in Texas, and she said she had a positive experience meeting Chyna. And it's just unfortunate that Chyna, if she did die from an overdose, she succumbed to her drug addiction. But like I said, guys, I'm not here to knock Chyna for how tumultuous her life was. I'm choosing to respect and recognize Chyna for what she did in wrestling, because Chyna played a big part in my life as a wrestling fan, in the sense of I watched a lot of her. She was one of my favorites to watch in the Attitude Era. She did big things in the Attitude Era. First woman to win the Intercontinental Championship. First woman to compete in the Royal Rumble match. She's a former women's champion. She was the first woman to compete in the King of the Ring tournament. First woman to ever become '1 contender for the WWF Championship. And I don't think you're ever going to see that again. Everything Chyna did, I don't think that's ever going to be replicated again in the WWE. Chyna was quite a special woman. She was a good women's wrestler. She was mainly like a brawler, but she could get it done in the ring. And she had feuds with Chris Jericho and Jeff Jarrett, and a small little feud with Eddie Guerrero as well. Chyna did big things, and she's responsible for inspiring many women's wrestlers who competed in WWE or still in WWE today. And I don't choose to, remember Chyna for the rocky road that she took, with regards to her life, how tumultuous her life was. Like I've said, and I'm sorry if I sound like a broken record saying this, I'm choosing to remember Chyna for what she contributed to wrestling and women's wrestling in general, and how she broke barriers, and how she kicked down the door, and how she revolutionized women's wrestling with everything she did, how she revolutionized professional wrestling in general for everything she achieved. And I just want to say thank you, Chyna, for the memories, especially your time with DX. Those are some of my favorite memories of you. May your legacy live on. You deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, and I hope you get into the Hall of Fame next year. Better late than never, but it is unfortunate that if you do go into the Hall of Fame, you're mainly going in because you passed away. But like I said, when someone like Sunny is in the Hall of Fame and she is offering to show her boobs to guys who pay her $100, and she's willing to pawn the Hall of Fame ring that WWE gave her in honor of her Hall of Fame induction, that's saying something. And that's saying something very negative, and that's just wrong. I don't think Chyna would have gone to those lanes, because yes, Chyna did do porn and she had her issues, her personal demons. But when someone like Sunny wants to pawn her Hall of Fame ring, when WWE, when you guys gave her that Hall of Fame ring as recognition for her going into the Hall of Fame, there's something wrong, and that's shady. And the fact that she went in before Chyna, yeah, that's very questionable, So hopefully Chyna will get into the Hall of Fame, and when she does go into the Hall of Fame, they will recognize her for what she achieved. Nobody's perfect. Chyna had her demons, but Chyna will always be remembered as one of the most revolutionary entities in professional wrestling for what she did. She wasn't your typical manager. She wasn't your typical valet. She got in. She got physical. She went out there and she kicked ass. So, my prayers and my condolences go out to Chyna's family, her friends, whoever, those who worked with her and were close to her, and to her fans as well. And like I said, I just want to say thank you again, Chyna, for the memories. May your legacy live on. You may have not had a perfect life, but your fans still remember what you contributed to the sport of wrestling, and you deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. And like I said, may your legacy live on. And I hope this Monday on Raw they give you the proper tribute, the proper the proper recognition. You know, I hope they give you that traditional tribute video and everything. And guys, of course, just leave your comments down below. Tell me, you know, your thoughts on Chyna's passing. What were your favorite Chyna memories, matches? And yeah, guys, I'm gonna pretty much end it here because this is a somber video to me. I wanted to make it yesterday, but just wasn't really in the mood, especially with, you know, Prince unexpectedly passing away, you know, a musical genius of his caliber. And then you had Doris Roberts, you know, the mom from Everybody Loves Raymond, pass away earlier this week. You know, we're losing the greats left and right, guys. This is no joke. It's sad that we're losing these greats, whether they're actors, actresses, singers, wrestlers, whatever. It's sad that we're losing a lot of the greats. You know, this year we've lost a lot of greats so far. We're losing them left and right, so it's just sad. But it's just a reminder to make sure you live your life to the fullest and just to cherish those every moment in life. You know. So I'm gonna end the video right here, guys. I'm sorry if I rambled. You know, it's unfortunate, like I said, that Chyna passed away, and if she died from an overdose, and that's just a shame, you know, guys, because she had her demons and whatnot. So that's my video. R.I.P. Chyna. Thank you for the memories. May your legacy live on. I'm Robert Kenobi. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see y'all later.